Chug, 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 chug. Better. I'm good. I'm ready. Here we go. I can talk about school now. I chug some Monster. Yeah. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you have never been to my channel before, my name is Holly. I vlog, I put up nursing student videos, I talk about fitness and health, nutrition, everything. I talk a little bit about everything, and I love to share my life with you guys through social media. So thank you, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to pass the class of Fundamentals of Clinical Nursing in nursing school for nursing students. Anybody taking this course, it is a difficult one, and I'm going to break it down for you guys and kind of explain how I passed the course, my study tips, what I used. Different things are going to pop up on the screen because I'm going to show you guys study materials because I no longer have them. I'm going to talk a little bit about everything, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first off, I just want to tell you guys the way that my fundamentals class worked. Basically, we were put into the course and you have a lab portion, a clinical portion, and a lecture portion. So the class consisted of 3 different sections, and it was basically throughout the week. We would have the lecture portion would be twice a week. I believe it was for, I want to say, like an hour and 50 minutes twice a week. And then we had lab, which was a 3-hour period. And then we had clinical, which was from 6:30 in the morning until 1:30 p.m. So that was kind of how my fundamentals course was like shaped, and that's how my weeks looked. So basically, I really didn't enjoy this class at all. I really actually kind of hated it. I think that a lot of my classmates would agree with me that this was probably the most difficult course that we've taken so far. Maybe some people disagreed. I just know that it was my most difficult course, and I really didn't figure it out until I took the first exam. So basically what fundamentals is all about is the fundamentals of nursing. You know, you're covering the basics. You're talking about catheter care, you're talking about injections, you're talking about giving medications, basic head-to-toe assessments, everything that is the fundamentals of being a nurse. And it's a very important thing to have down, because if you don't have the basics, I mean, if you don't have the basics down, it's really difficult to move forward and learn more things and harder, difficult, more tasks. So going into the course, I was very optimistic. I was really ready, because I just thought, like, you know, everybody says this is a really hard course, but why is it hard? You know, I can accomplish anything kind of attitude. But going into the course, I dealt with some difficult professors, because this class is not a memorization course. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. If you just watched my pharmacology and nursing video, I told you that that was a very heavy memorization course. This course is not even a little bit, maybe just a little if you're in lab and you're obviously memorizing how to do a certain thing, but this class is all about critical thinking. And I know that if you are a nurse or you are a student and you have taken exams, you know what critical thinking means. In nursing school, you have to basically set your brain up to think critically and be able to break down situations as a nurse. You need to think like a nurse when you're taking these exams. So I wasn't really prepared for that, I guess, because I had taken the critical thinking test before, like in my first semester, but second semester was a whole new ball game for me, because they give you questions, and there's like, and I know that I've said before that there's multiple questions that are correct, like answers, but this was like, it was so difficult to study for this, because particularly at my school, they would give us lecture notes and we would go through things in lab, but we had to basically teach ourselves from the units that we were given. You know, there were certain questions on exams that would be pulled from our notes, but a majority of it was you pretty much had to do practice questions to understand what the questions were going to be like. And that's why I'm making this video, because I know that a lot of my classmates struggled and couldn't figure out, you know, why am I studying wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, it all came down to practice questions, and that is the #1 reason that I passed this course with a high 80. I really worked my ass off to get the grade that I got, and I was very proud of myself throughout the semester for taking the time to study, because, you know, it wasn't just an easy thing to do. You had to actually sit down and do a quadrillion practice questions in order to understand what kind of questions and answers would be on the exams. So I'm going to kind of break it down for you guys and explain exactly what I did. So just to show you guys, I had 2 different binders for this course, and obviously I had another one for clinical, but it's nothing exciting. So this was my fundamentals binder. So it's not as thick as my pharmacology binder, obviously, if you guys saw that before, but this is what it looked like. I just had my schedule on the front here. And then when you open up this binder, I have all of my lecture notes, and again, I used the tabs because that is what works best for me. So basically, there's nothing really to see. I basically printed out all of the PowerPoints, so just to show you guys one section. This, instead of in pharmacology, they gave us outlines. Well, in fundamentals, they gave us PowerPoints. So basically, I would just go through and highlight things and write in things into the PowerPoints. And then I would retype up my notes and I would study those, because that was my study technique. Was we would have lecture twice a week. After lecture, I would go home and I would go through my PowerPoints and I would make my own outline, and then I would, you know, in the outline, everything that I had written down, I would type up so that it made more sense, kind of like pharmacology, because if you don't, everything's kind of jumbled and like obnoxious to study. So I felt like typing them up was just a lot easier for me. I didn't write anything out for funds, just basically typed things out and studied. So that was kind of how I did that after class. And then moving on, they would give us like this entire chunk is articles of different things, you know, like for example, this one's all about fluid retention. This one was about optimal care of patients with catheters. So I would read through these, but I didn't like read the entire thing. So, okay. They also gave us kind of little like things to look at, like this, like for my books, it was a volume 1 and a volume 2 book, Fundamentals in Clinical Nursing. So my instructors for each chapter, like they would give us this little sheet and it would tell us the main points, and then they would give us pages to read in the book to look at. If your instructor gives you a certain page to read in a book, read it. Just do that, read the book, skim through it. You don't have to read it word for word, look at it, because there's like a 99% chance they're gonna ask a question from that. Learned that. They'd also give us some articles that we could read, and I also highlighted those down there. And then these were just some skill checks things to do, which was an online study method. I'm gonna talk about that here in a second. But that was just kind of how the materials worked. So this is literally exactly what I did. I'm gonna tell you guys, and before I tell you guys how I studied and passed the class, I'm gonna tell you guys what I did and how I kind of sucked it up the first exam. So we had 5 exams for this course. I believe it was 5. And the very first exam I failed. You have to have a 75% to pass the exams in the course, obviously. I got a 72% on the very first exam, and to us that's failing, and to me that is breaking my heart. If you ever see anything below a 75, you have a small little mental breakdown and you call your mom and cry. That was my first exam. Well, the first exam I literally had absolutely no idea how to study, because it's critical thinking, obviously, and like you've never taken a test like this before. So I basically looked over my lecture notes. I looked through the book a little bit, did a couple practice questions. I was like, whatever, this is the first exam, like it'll be fine. I'm just gonna try it out and see, you know, how I do. Well, it obviously didn't work because I got a 72, and when we did the test review and I went through, I literally was so off from the answer that I picked that I was like, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to be doing instead of what I did this time? So I picked it up. I picked myself back up. It sucked because all of my friends did pass and I was like the only one who didn't. There may have been a couple people who didn't, but I literally did not pass. So then what I figured out was I talked to a couple people and like looked around on the internet and stuff, and everybody had said, you know, you need to do practice questions. And the first test I did not. So basically how I passed the next exam, I took a lot more time to study and do questions. So right here, I'm gonna put like insert right here, the book that I used the most to pass the course was this one right here. This book is amazing. If you actually have a university with a library, I guarantee you that they have several editions of this book in your library. Get it, do every single question in each unit that you're being tested over, and do every single question and do them back again and do them again and again and again and again. Continue to do the practice questions until you literally know what the answer is to a catheter question. What you know, when you know the answer to somebody who's feeling this way and this way and this way, and the answer to that. If somebody has this condition and they're being given this medication, that's the kind of questions you're given. And the more you practice and do those, the more it's going to get melted into your brain. You're going to know how to break down that question, and you're going to be like, okay, well, A's not right because they wouldn't be able to take that medication. B's not right because they would not be feeling this way if it were this condition. So that's kind of how I did it with this practice book. And I'm gonna be honest, I literally only passed the course because of this book and the other ones I'm going to show you. So that's the #1 book that I loved. I found that my second test, and I kind of shared it with my friends, and then everybody kind of figured out like, oh my god, like I'm doing significantly better. So when I took my second exam, I got an 86% on it, and I went from a 72% to an 86%, which was like crazy. And I like was like, okay, I got this. Like I figured this out. Like I've taken 2 tests. Like I know how to study. So yes, once I had all of my notes for like a test to be ready to like before a test, and I was gonna sit down and study, I had all of my notes typed up in outline form. I had all of my lecture notes in front of me. I had articles, and I had my book. And what I did was I would go through all of that, make sure that I understood the gist of what I was being tested over. Like a test would be consisting of like 3 or 4 units. So it would be like oxygenation, catheters, IVs, and I can't even think of another one. So we would have like 3 or 4 sections, and I would make sure I went through everything that I had for my study materials, and then I would go do the questions. And I literally did every single question in the book that I just showed you guys, as well as I looked up every single question I could in this book. I mentioned this in my pharmacology video, was the ATI book for pharm. Well, this one's the one for fundamentals. So basically you would go through and you would find, so this one, you would go through, let's say I was being tested over infection control. This test kicked my ass. It's a lot harder than you think it is. You would think like the chain of infection would be an easy thing to like be tested over. It's not. Like I got the question wrong twice. So this book basically goes through, I don't know if it's gonna show you guys, it gives you like an overview of infection control, and then at the end of it, it gives you some practice questions, and it will tell you like, because there's like select all that apply questions, and you want to practice those as much as possible. So I don't know if you guys can see, like it'll give you the practice questions, and you're able to do that. So this was the second book that I used, as well as books in the back of your as well as, I'm talking so fast, I need to like not, my dad's from Chicago, so I talk really fast like I'm from Chicago. Do the questions in the back of your fundamentals book if you have them. Mine did not. And then this book is amazing. This is, I'm gonna literally probably write this in the description box. Like, get this book. They recommended this book to us. It has a lot of information in it, and I'll probably use this throughout school. It's the Davis Q&A for the NCLEX RN examination. Obviously, this book is filled, like it's thick, like this mofo is thick, and it just goes through and has tons of different practice questions, and it tells you why. It tells you why that's the answer. And that's what all of these other books, like the one I mentioned before that was the picture, that book literally told me why the answer was wrong, and it made sense to me. It made sense to me to understand, you know, why would I not pick that as an answer? Why would I not write that down? Like, you need to know why the answer is wrong. Like if you were picking something and it's wrong, you need to know why that's wrong. Like, don't just sidetrack that. Like, don't skip your review sessions after tests. Like, go in, make sure you know why you got the question wrong, because it's not going to leave you any time in nursing school. Like, your fundamentals is just the very beginning. You need to know why you missed a question and understand that you're not going to make that mistake again. So that's my advice with those study books. And then the third thing that I used for studying was an online thing that my book offered. I did have to pay $115 for it, but I don't regret it at all. It was amazing, and it was super helpful. And I'm just gonna put like a picture right here of what book series we had. Every nursing school may make you get a different one, but this right here was what I had, and then this right here was the study program that was offered online. And basically what it included was quizzes, test banks, skill checks that were like in the book. It would be like when you're reading through a textbook, you know, they'll have like checkpoint 1, checkpoint 1.2, checkpoint 1.3, like in each chapter. Well, on this study material thing, it would give you the answer to the questions that it asked in the book. And again, that's more practice. The more practice, the better. If you have not gotten the gist of this video yet, it's all about practicing. Practice, 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 practice. So yeah, that's literally all I really have to tell you about fundamentals. I knew this video would be shorter than pharm just because funds was pretty straightforward as to how you had to study, and it was just continuously looking over material and doing questions. I don't think that I did anything else besides questions to study for these exams. Once you had the material down that you were being tested over, like you do need to, I mean, you may want to do like some memorization for like stuff like oxygenation levels and like the masks and stuff, like different things like a Venturi mask, you know, a cannula, like all those things. So I guess you are kind of memorizing, but it's not like it's loads of material. Like, I was blowing on my phone. It's not like it's loads of material like pharmacology was. So once you have your material down, go and do every single practice question you can find. There were at points when I would look on Quizlet as well for fundamentals, and I would do those questions as well, just because anything helps, you know, like do as many as you, my hair's falling out, do as many as you possibly can, because the more like practice you have, the better you're gonna have a better chance of doing well on your exams. Another tip I have for you with fundamentals is, I didn't really think pharmacology was a group studying class at all, but I really enjoyed going over things with people for fundamentals. We didn't do it as much as we should have, but it still really was helpful to sit down with a group of people and do questions with them, or talk over the material and like say like, hey, this is this and this, like what would you do in this situation? Like just talk about it with your peers, because somebody's going to give you a reason as to why something is right that you would have never thought of. And that's what the class is consisting of. Critical thinking, different points of view, and every single nurse has a different point of view, but everybody needs to understand the basics. So if you're sitting there talking about it with people and you're all giving different ideas and like thinking through things, it makes it a lot easier to study, and it may give you a better, broader perspective when you're sitting down and taking an exam. So all right, so that is all I have for you guys for fundamentals. I really do hope that that helped someone or got somebody, just giving you an idea going into the course, because I literally had no idea how to study, and honestly, no one really told me. I think my cousin told me like practice questions, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do a few of those. I wasn't thinking I would do like 500 before every exam, but it's worth it. I promise. Do as many practice questions as you can. I hope that you guys will work really hard in this class. You know, it's not easy. It's never going to be easy, but putting in the effort and taking the time to study is going to help you it's going to pay off in the end. So I wish you all the best of luck with school this fall semester. Let me know if there's another nursing student video you guys would like before school starts, before I get into this semester and start talking about my new classes. But I just wanted to get this up for you guys, and yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really helps me understand what you guys love, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.